Hello, friends and fans, and welcome back to the Butterfly Effect podcast for our analysis of Chapter 4, The Quarry. So let's dive straight into it. First little pointer for me, obviously the scene opens where you've got Nick back to the campfire. He's obviously struggling with some sort of infection. And a little prediction of mine, not that it was a major prediction, but it did come true at this point. So in an earlier video, I did say that I just had a feeling that Abigail's artistic skills will come into play at some point. And at the beginning of this scene, Caitlin outright asks Abigail to draw the thing that she saw in the woods. And she does do that. So a little pat on the back for me there for sort of getting that right. But yeah, mate, did you want to take over and tell us sort of what happened in this scene for you?
Of course, yeah, it's quite a short and sweet one, not much to say about Ryan. There was the option to apply pressure to his wound, which I thought I would do, just seemed sensible. Before we get to the bit where Jacob comes, I just want to say, Dylan mentions, oh god, that looks infected, to Nick's leg. He explores the possibility of amputating it. Now, I honestly thought when a choice came up here is that we'd have to do it. And I'm honestly it surprised me that we didn't, but I have a feeling this might happen later. I have a feeling something to do with an amputation might come into hand. And I saw when Bobby shot his finger off that he obviously thinks it's a good idea to get rid of any sort of infected body parts or whatever. So I was kind of all for the idea of I straight up probably would have cut Nick's leg off then and there. And then we didn't, and Nick's just running around or limping around, I should say, with an infected leg. And early theory, but I'm wondering if Nick's going to get infected. And if he is going to get infected, maybe, your theory before about, turning wolves into wolves, maybe Nick can become a wolf. I don't know. It's just a weird theory that, could potentially be a thing.
It's an interesting thought, mate. And to be honest, I do completely agree with you in the sense that I would have liked to have done the amputation there and then, but it just seemed to skip over it.
Yeah, so I'm just going to keep a good eye on Nick. I'm a bit wary. But at the same time, that could be far-fetched. It could be one of those red herring things. Like when Emily got bit, I'm not going to shoot Nick in the eye this time. But yeah, I guess then Jacob comes into it and he's just there I left Emma on the island, and then he's like, oh shit, I got to go back for her. So he's ran off and he tries to take the gun, and I think you mentioned it before that you fought for the gun back and gave it to Caitlin, right?
So I think the choice was that either Ryan keeps it or you give it to Jacob, if I remember rightly. I know that in a later scene, I think, is it that Dylan and Ryan, they find a gun, and I did say to him...
Oh, yeah.
But in this particular state, I was like, no, I want Ryan to keep the gun, because obviously my theory being is that Jacob is sort of untouchable because he's got the blood-drenched face. So I was like, he's going to be all right. The wolf's not going to go for him. So I was like, no, I'm going to keep the gun.
I thought that, and I also thought that he was awful with a gun earlier in the shooting practice, that I just didn't trust him with it. But okay. To be honest, the only other really bullet point I have for this scene, mate, is that I quite liked it when Ryan is looking at the woods, and I was struggling to find anything, to be honest. I don't know if that's normal. But when the monster, whatever, quiets down and runs away, I quite like the fact that Ryan says, yeah, you better run. And, this is kind of an overused quote or whatever, and then Caitlin goes out her way to say, well done, you're so brave or something. And I just love the way that Caitlin just snapped Ryan like that. She's so witty that I'm actually really enjoying Caitlin's lines. The writing's really strong on her end. But yeah, anything to comment, or are you happy to go for Emma?
Quick thing on Caitlin, actually, because you really haven't get to play as her at this point, have you? It's really been mainly the other characters. There's the odd sort of decision that you get to choose for her, but in terms of moving around and exploring. I think Caitlin is a character you haven't really played much as at this point, but
the only time we play as Caitlin is when she takes a photo of the island. That's literally it, I think.
That's it, and so yeah, I wonder if she could have been factored in a little bit better. Who knows, maybe by the end we'll sort of forget about this, but I'm happy to move on to Emma, mate. So, of course, yeah, a new location. We're now on the island in like the area of the summer camp, and you're basically playing as Emma. She's still in like her swimwear or underwear, and she decides to blog to her subscribers. She starts wandering around and checking various things out. Now, I've got my clues down here. I'm convinced I did find a couple of things outside, but I don't think they've actually logged onto the menu because I've only got one clue here. I could sort of that's worthy of mention. But of course, you then do get the point where you either go up the stairs or you walk along the trail. Now, for me personally, I thought go big or go home. You got to check out that tree house for potential clues. So I went up the stairs. So what about you?
I took the trail, which is great, mate. We're doing all the different things. I think it's because she mentioned the metaphor about do I take the high road and kind of, forget about Jacob or whatever? Or do I? And I thought, you know what? It's clearly on her mind. She's venting. I thought it might be more metaphorical to just carry on down the trail. But before we progress, mate, I just wanted to ask, did you find the tarot card in Emma's little section here?
It depends. What was it called?
It was called The Magician.
I have not then.
Okay, yeah, there was, if you go right back to the pier at the start, it's like right there, like you have to go all the way back to the start, and it's like kind of hidden behind a post.
Right, okay. There is actually a comment that I'll mention, and it does seem to be Emma's sequences, and it's got me thinking that I need to dial the brightness up on this game. Obviously, again, like I'm a couple of chapters ahead, but there have been a couple of sequences in this game now. I've started to notice it's incredibly dark. Like, even when you're sort of shining the light, you can't see further than 2 foot in front of you. And don't get me wrong, I get that it's part of the whole immersive experience, and it's very believable. But at the same time, just from a pure gameplay perspective, I want to be able to find the clues and be like very forensic. And it's quite tough when you don't know where you're going. So yeah, I thought I'd say that. But all right then, mate. Tell me what happens when you're on the trail then.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think what you go along, and you end up at the treehouse anyway. Like there's a big ladder, and you go up to it. So I think it just sort of changes the route you get there on. I think we still both end up in the same location. But yeah, you kind of go along the trail, you vent about, I wanted a fun summer, but I ended up looking after this man-child. And then she says stuff like, I just have to live and be me, young. I don't know if you had the same dialogue. Talks about maybe we'll meet again in 50 years and we'll have crazy, wheeler sex, which I thought was quite a funny line.
Yeah.
I have to mention that I do quite like these vlog scenes. It makes Emma more than just that artificial, princessy bitch character. It gives her a bit of, a layer. Like there's a bit of insecurity there. How she quite likes her alone moments, which she's not had. It just really fun scenes and really nice kind of lines as well about, her vlogging style. And, it'd be really interesting to see what her channel would actually look like. But yeah, regardless, some of the clues you find, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can barely remember. I know that you find the fire that obviously the group saw earlier. So she questions it. She's like, well, Mr. H was with us. Why is there a fire here? So Emma gets a bit quizzical looking at that. I think that was the only real noteworthy thing before I ended up at the treehouse. I'll switch back to you so you can tell us what happens if you go up the stairs, mate.
Yeah, so obviously I didn't see that fire thing. You go up the stairs. I'm trying to think if there's another tarot card that I found. Did you happen to find a tarot card called Strength at all?
I did, but that's with Dylan later on.
Right, okay. So yeah, I've missed that other tarot card then. So yeah, you go upstairs. I generally don't think that much happens from what I can remember. But obviously you get to the tree house and you go into the room, and then there's obviously the option, you can hear some movement up above. Do you sort of go up the trap door, or is it like you look for documents, or like you snoop? And me personally, I chose to snoop. I wanted to have a little look around first. What about you?
Yeah, I don't want to fucking open that trapdoor. There's like noises up there, and Jacob looked at it earlier with the binoculars, and there's a fucking wolf up there. I was like, do not do both, let alone open the door. I was like, yeah, I'm looking through the bags, and that's it, and then I'm leaving. But unfortunately, you can't do that.
No. So yeah, she opens the trapdoor, doesn't she? And I was thinking, oh, it's like straight up Ashley vibes from Until Dawn with trapdoors. So obviously then the monster drops down. And I'm guessing then, mate, that you picked up a taser when you searched the room.
Did. I got a taser and I took a picture as well.
I did as well, yeah. So I tasered it. It come up, use bear spray or taser. And I was thinking, it's got to be the taser, right? Bear spray's going to do jack shit. And then it said, the only reason I took a photo is because of that evidence tab. If that evidence tab wasn't there, I'd be like, why the fuck am I taking a photo? Just get the hell out of there. So
I thought about the flash. I thought maybe if the flash was on, it would like blind it a little bit. And the flash was on, but it didn't seem to affect it too much. But I did think maybe it would stun the wolf, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously like a chase sequence ensues, and there's a couple of quick time events. But from here until the zip wire, I'm a little bit in the dark. So do you remember if anything else happens in this bit, mate?
Nah, I mean, you kind of you zip wire to sort of like the other side, and there's a bit more of a chase scene. So like you go into this little other cabin, and there's the option to block the door or run. And I think I went to block the door, and it did jack shit. He just jumped through a window.
Same. Yeah.
So I was like, oh god, what have I done? I'm gonna. I think I did a lot of bad decisions. So I almost get the impression that Emma might have a little bit of plot armor, but you know, maybe she can't. Maybe she can die at this scene, but I almost got the impression she didn't. Or she actually no, she can, because I know that she can fall at the zip wire, die. But luckily I didn't do that. But either way, I did use the bear spray in the end before I went up the trapdoor, because I thought that might buy me some time. It was just literally looking at me, and I thought if I turn my back to it, I'm gonna get fucked up. So I sprayed it. Luckily, it did work, and yeah, I ended up back in the trapdoor, and I shoved the toolbox on it, and then yeah, it goes back to Dylan. I don't know if you got the same ending as me there.
Well, I didn't use the bear spray because I thought it's going to be completely useless. So I thought I'm just going to run to the trap door. I mean, that was in my mind before I selected it. I was thinking if I turn my back and just run, it could literally just grab me and do whatever. But luckily, that's the thing with these games. You are sort of guessing what the following cutscene's going to be, aren't you?
Yeah.
And yeah, like she did. She just sort of got up the ladder. I think she might have done something like threw something at it to sort of distract it for a second, and then she got up the ladder. So yeah, well,
I have to say for Emma though, like when she sees this monster, there's almost like a lack of freak out. Like she is extremely level-headed. She's like insanely athletic, and she takes it in stride. Like this is what she does every summer, and I'm not saying that's a criticism, maybe that's just a compliment of Emma's personality, of how well she handled it. But if you look at the other characters, like they're freaking out when they see these wolves things, and they're like, oh my god, what? And they're like trying to get help. Emma's just like, oh, hi there, wolf, let's do some parkour. And I was just like, oh, fair play to Emma.
That's true, actually. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, thinking back, it was a little bit like, oh, a wolf.
Yeah.
Let's just starts legging it, yeah.
This is going to make great content for my vlog.
Yeah. All right then, mate. So we're then going to move on to Dylan, I believe, who is with Ryan, and they're on the quest to like find a phone or some sort of contact to the outside world, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did this particular bit play out for you?
I don't remember too much, obviously. Like, obviously, with the phone, you know, like, you get through to 911 and the line gets cut off and the power gets shut off. I think it's more just about Dylan and Ryan's relationship. They're obviously getting closer, a bit goofier. You can kind of choose to go aggressive. I never did. I always was calm with Dylan. Just, you know, made sure the friendship was okay, intact. And yeah, like, not much to say other than the fact that I honestly thought that they were in the location to look back in the secret layer to look at the cameras. And I was thinking, like, yeah, look back at the cameras, you might see some evidence of what's going on around.
Yeah.
But they never did that, and I was kind of a bit underwhelmed, because, like, just personally, that's what I would have done. But yeah, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, honestly, it sounds very similar. It's funny how, like, sort of they can still joke about, because I know that Ryan, he sort of refers it to 91-1, doesn't he? And sort of
yeah.
And then Ryan's like, who the hell refers it to 91-1? Like, there's still like this sort of banter and digging one another out, even in the disastrous situation that they're in. But yeah, like, it seems like a pretty standard scene. I don't think there will be much to it, like you say, apart from just establishing their relationship a little bit more, really.
Yeah. And obviously there's the disagreement again with the gun and whether you give it to Caitlin or keep it.
Of course, yeah.
And I think we did the same thing. I gave it to Caitlin. I know she's a badass shot. It made sense. Ryan's got a gun. Give the other group a gun. I don't know. I just was like, yeah, it just seems purely logical to me.
Exactly. Exact same logic. She kicked ass at the shooting range earlier and Ryan had a gun. I know shortly after that, Dylan then walks out with the gun and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, I definitely gave it to Caitlin. And then shortly after he's like, yeah, you know what? I think he then gives the gun back to Ryan. He's like, yeah, you're probably a better shot than me. I wouldn't, you know, I trust you. So, yeah. Of course.
Tell you what, mate, as well. I know I said Dylan's jokes are very hit and miss for me, but he did actually genuinely make me laugh, you know, once this episode. I think it's that conversation with Ryan where he's just like, oh, what if we're just in a movie? And Ryan's like, we're not. He's like, well, maybe that's what they want you to think. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to lie. I quite like that line.
Yeah, and you know what? It sounds like I'm obsessed with this theory. I'm genuinely not. It probably is just like a little wink to the audience, like, because there is like a movie mode feature and whatnot. But I was thinking, oh, fourth wall breaking.
yeah, of course. I never thought of that, actually. But yeah, you're right.
It come into my head. I was like, oh, is that going to be, you know, because obviously with like the whole videotape stuff and, you know, the fact that there's sort of like a TV or a computer on the main menu, I was like, oh, is it just an aesthetic thing, or is it a straight up part of the plot where it's like some sort of, you know, Matrix and stuff? But well, if we've got nothing to add, mate, we can just go straight back to Emma with the zip wire scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like one little conclusion, really. You're at the top and you have the reel, and instantly I'm there like, oh god, no, because I saw the premonition of her falling to her death.
Yeah.
I imagine she can die at this scene, so I'm imagining that Emma isn't one of the people who has plot armor.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I was okay. I managed to make her survive. I feel fortunate because it was like quick reel or slow reel for the zip wire because it's stuck out kind of, you know, not too close to you.
Yeah.
I went for the slow reel. I thought I'd go for stealth. I almost was like, I'm going to regret this because you just want it to come fast, like a band-aid. It knows you're up there. Why am I being quiet about it? I went for the slow reel and instantly questioned and regretted what I did. I mean, how about yourself? Did you slow?
Same thing. I didn't want to make a lot of noise, so I did slow reel, and then it sort of stopped, and then it gives you an option whether to speed up, doesn't it? And I was thinking, is this the game trying to force me into making? So I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. And as soon as it then cut to the werewolf sticking out, I thought, oh fuck, Emma's had it. But then obviously, luckily, it sort of swipes and she goes down the zip wire. And for me, I don't know if it played out the same way for you, but she full on went into the water. I don't know if you're meant to sort of just zip wide down and then jump and land on, the earth. But she fell into the water, climbed out, and then I lost the taser as a result.
Yeah, exact same for me, and it's interesting because I don't really think I saw a button option to stay on, or maybe like I just didn't button mash hard enough. I don't know, because I am pretty sure that you can fall to your death, and I'm pretty sure that you can stay the whole way on. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, in the comments, give us a little bit of guidance, how can this change? What do you have to do if you can stay on the whole way, or do you have to lose the taser at this point? Did we just play a linear path and we're overthinking it? But yeah, at least Emma got away. It was quite a cool scene. It was probably the best action scene so far. A lot of parallels with Until Dawn, right? We're seeing Ashley in the trapdoor. We're seeing Emily on a zip wire. Yeah, I'm just thinking there's just so much here that's relatable.
It really is, yeah. And it's done in such a way that it pays homage to Until Dawn, obviously for us where we know the game, but at the same time, it doesn't feel too forced. It does somewhat make sense as well with the situations that you're in. So yeah, well, I guess we then have to roll on to our Eliza sequence then. So for me personally, I only found one tarot card in this chapter, which was called Strength.
That works out nice because I found Strength in the Magician, and I picked the Magician, so I get to find out what the other one that I didn't get to see was.
Well, yeah, I mean, I am trying to remember now, mate, and it isn't coming to me, so I might have to, once we finished recording, I'll just, quickly have a look online and see what the Strength one was. But, yeah, I mean, you say you know what the Magician one was?
Yeah, do you want me to tell you?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, I guess I picked the Magician because I was Strength for Magician. Not only was Magician probably the harder one to find, because with Strength, it kind of it comes naturally on a cutscene, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With Magician, it was a little harder to find, and I also was more intrigued with it because it's about, the way Eliza worded it, now you see it, now you don't. You're not going to want to miss that as well. And I was like, okay, well, I have to watch it now. And also, it does tie back into my infection theory, because, yeah, you've basically got Ryan chainsawing the hand of Dylan off.
Right. Okay.
So there's an amputation that takes place, possibly. And then it was now you see it, now you don't. I'm like, oh, they're talking about Dylan's hand. Damn, that's dark. But yeah, that might be in store for you. Maybe it's on a linear path. Maybe that's a choice that can happen. Maybe that's a good thing to do or a bad thing. I don't know. But that's what I saw, Ryan chainsawing Dylan's hand off.
Right. Okay. Well, I won't say anything. But what I will say about these premonitions is that you really can't tell whether they're acting as guidance or not. I'm assuming that they are acting as guidance. So it may be dangerous to think that going forward. But it seems as though Eliza's on your side still. I know she is popping up in the game, isn't she? Various little moments where you can see her lurking in the background. I don't know whether it is a curator thing where she's there for a sequence where you can die and such, but yeah, it's you got to say that the intensity has ramped up now, hasn't it? It's
yeah, it certainly has, man.
It's really got into sort of the big boy territory. So well, I guess if we've got no other points, I think it's perhaps time to wrap it up and obviously crack on with the next one.
Sounds good, man. But yeah, cheers for joining, guys. Let us know how you're getting on with the game, what you thought of this whole sequence, and yeah, just tell us overall your general thoughts. Thank you very much for joining, guys.
See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Sub, share, smash that like button. The Holy Trinity.